Hey, everybody. I love seeing all of these beautiful souls and faces coming on in. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. We got Christina, Kelly, Ray, Kelly, Laura. I love it. Carly, Mary, Tanya. Hello, hello. We got Penny in the house. So good to see all of you today. I got to tell you, I was prepping for this morning, and I thought money was my favorite topic to teach until I started working on this for you this morning, and I was like, this might actually be my favorite topic now. So today's going to be amazing. Like, I can tell you, it's going to be amazing. I want to hear from you first, though. It was so fun last night. I was like DMing with some of you and hearing about the shifts. What did we take away from yesterday? I'd love to hear like 1 to 2, maybe 3 ahas, epiphanies about money, receiving, worthiness. Who wants to come off mute and share something that showed up for you? Let's see. Ray, yeah.
Yeah, just quick that your desires are green lights. That was huge.
Isn't it so
Don't
amazing?
have to question them. Don't have to go through all the what ifs. Don't have to spiral through all of the negativity that could happen. They're green lights. You just follow that. That's all it is.
I was talking
Lovely.
with, I can't remember who it was. It was one of our groups a little while back, and it was like, what if all the energy that we spent doubting ourselves and questioning whether we could do something was just channeled into creating? Like, what if because it's so much creative energy that we lose when we do that. And what if you just took that same, not just mental bandwidth, but time that you waste doubting and questioning it and just funnel it into achieving your goals? Like, what would that look like for you? And how much more freedom would you feel in that process too? So such a good one, Ray. Who else? Let's hear like 1 or 2 more takeaways. I actually had one come up. Valerie, let's go. Yeah.
Sure. So in the journaling section yesterday, I was kind of going through what would be me living the fullest version of myself. And something that is a big struggle for me is that I overcommit. I try to do too much myself and end up staying up till 3 a.m. working on projects for clients, or commit to doing something that I'm not that sure about. And I'm like, well, I'll just watch some videos and figure out how to do it. And it's like 3 hours later, I'm still like banging my head against the wall. And I realized, like, if I could just up my price to pay for the expertise that I need so that I'm not stuck in that situation, then I would be able to do what's really important to me, which is not working outside of the hours that my children, are at home. I don't want to work when they're at home. So, or also kill myself staying up late to work. So it's like, I could just raise my price and just like, let that go. So even this morning, I was having a technical issue with something for a client. I hired someone to show me how to do it. It's $45 for 30 minutes. And it's like, otherwise I would have spent 3 hours doing that. So totally worth it.
Good for you. I love hearing how you're like right away implementing. That's so powerful. Today, we're going to talk about taking action. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow too. And when you just make that decision and take the action, you already feel the shift, right? You already feel the shift. That's so beautiful. Let's do one more. This is really good. I want to hear one more. Yeah, Kelly.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is just how powerful our limiting thoughts are. I think that's sort of the thing that's really been resonating for me, is that, you can have these hopes, but until they match, they're sort of anemic, until they match what you feel and believe and value in yourself. There's just a, titanium wall between getting there and just having these wants that have no fertilizer. So that's been really an interesting process for me to go through. I was having a chat last night, and we're about to do our budgeting for our new fiscal year. And my accountant was like, oh, you realize you haven't had an increase in 6 years in your base salary. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know that I should. And I'm like, am I stupid? Like, how many times do you have your accountant wanting to give you money? And I'm still thinking small, like, oh no, I shouldn't possibly dip into the, revenues and all of that even more. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
and that was me actively limiting myself
Yes.
for no good reason,
Yeah.
So this has been sort of really been a wake-up call in how I look at things, and believe and am ready for. So I've been doing a lot of self-limiting, which needs to stop. So.
Powerful when you're aware. Yeah. Did you take the salary bump?
Oh yeah. Now I'm
oh my gosh. This is so powerful, y'all. Okay, you're going to hear my Southern roots come out. This is so powerful, y'all. So within 2 days of this, we're having women making decisions, receiving more money. And this is just the beginning too. So I'm just so thrilled. And I know even for those of you who didn't share, like, I'm certain there's been beautiful shifts. I want to share something before we get into masculine and feminine that actually showed up for me this morning. And it was interesting because I hadn't yet been able to put 2 and 2 together in my own life, but I finally did. And I actually had a good cry this morning, like realizing something in my own background that had been limiting me. And so Penny, you were on this call last week. We were in a call. We're wrapping up a group right now we've been doing called Meet the $1 Million You, which has been really fun. And Penny, you were on this call last week where I said, I know intuitively that there is a connection between women limiting themselves with money and what they receive, and also any sort of disordered eating behavior. I was like, I know it. And I'm like feeling really called to get into it. So we spoke yesterday on the call about some of the reasons that we hold back from receiving, and whether it's trauma, like sexual trauma. A lot of women in our community have experienced that. That's part of my backstory. It can be all sorts of things. But part of my background that I used to have so much shame around, and I really have just become free around it now, was I had disordered eating for many, many years in my teens and then in my 20s. And I knew that there was a pattern in me. Even when I broke that with eating, there was a pattern in me where I still felt some sort of guilt or shame around receiving money. And I'd never been able to put 2 and 2 together. And this morning I was getting ready and I had this flashback of me, like, it's like emotional, even as I think about it. In my early 20s, standing in the kitchen late night, like binging ice cream with so much shame. And I was so upset at myself that I couldn't stop and I couldn't figure out why. And I knew it wasn't healthy and I knew it wasn't a good idea. And I was like presenting in the world like I had it all together. But I didn't. And this was a pattern that I had for years. And it was like this type of behavior, number one, it numbed me. So I didn't have to pay attention to what was really going on. It was like my body was looking for some sort of grounding or getting settled out of all the flurry of anxiety I was in throughout the day. So this was a behavior and a pattern I had, but there was so much shame every night. And when I made the connection this morning, that was my way of trying to receive. It was like, even though it wasn't a healthy way to receive food or nutrition or take care of myself, it was the best I could do at that time. But the shame inherent in trying to receive what I needed to receive, the connection there, I realized then later in asking to receive money, there was still that pattern of shame involved where I felt guilt and shame and embarrassment around trying to get what I wanted and needed just in order to survive. So again, this is like a new thing that's even showing up for me this week, just kind of deepening that understanding of what really gets in the way of quantum sales growth for us. And if anyone, I felt called to share that. So I don't know who that's for, but hopefully that resonates with someone and maybe helps you unlock something too. And we're going to do more work. And I think I'm going to write a whole book around like the the connections between disordered eating and not receiving enough money in women's lives. So that's another topic for another day. But Laura, you're here for it. Good. Well, maybe you'll write it with me. We'll see. I think there's a lot there. But let's talk about what we're talking about today. This is going to be, I'm excited. I'm going to get right into it. Let me pull up my notes for all of you. Today, we're talking masculine and feminine energy, and how it relates to creating quantum sales growth in your life. So I want to do just a quick breakdown first of what this is, in case it's not something that you've studied before, and or again, if you know this, you can always go deeper. You can always, like, I'm going deeper in this myself every single day. So it's really, really powerful stuff. Here's what I mean by this. Masculine and feminine energy is not about being a man or a woman. It's not about your gender. We all have both types of energy in us. And we're going to do a breakdown today into what these are and what the most powerful alignment is for you if you want to sell more, earn more, receive more, and be really happy and enjoy the process along the way. And for a long time, when I heard this, I thought that feminine meant female. And I also actually, just full transparency, I had so much judgment on that in my life. I thought feminine was weak. I didn't feel safe being female in the business world. I had judgment on women who were like super, quote unquote, in their feminine. And so it was, I actually learned later on in life that my mom was very uncomfortable, just not comfortable in her body, didn't trust herself, any of that. And I picked up on a lot of that stuff. So part of what's beautiful about you doing this work too, just like Penny was talking about yesterday, is like the healing that happens generationally. Like, it's not just about you, it's about your kids, your lineage, your legacy as well. So anyway, though, I was never taught, and I never heard or understood any of the amazing things for us as women that have to do with feminine energy, whether it's creation, the power to literally create and give life, manifestation, connectedness. And so this, for me in my own life, learning about masculine and feminine, and then how to integrate both, has been really liberating. And I will say too, just because I think this is important, like I said, it's not about being a man or a woman, although there are definitely different applications for both. Because a lot of the clients that I work with privately are men, and we work with men in corporate. And when they learn how to tap into some of what we're going to talk about today, their results quantum leap as well. So the law of polarity and duality, there is both. Right? We have both types of energy, and we need both and want to live in both as well. So with that, let's start. I've got my presentation for you today. This was so much fun to put together. Can you all see this okay? Yeah, cool. Okay. So when we talk about this could also, you could use different terms. All right. So you could use the term energy versus matter. You could use the term being versus doing. You could use yin and yang. Kathleen Cameron calls them dual forces, right? So you can use different terms depending on what resonates both with you. We're going to use these terms today because I think these are pretty commonly used in the space I play, but you can insert any of those to make it make sense for you. So let's talk about the problem though, and why for most women, I find that this is a huge area that will grow them and quantum leap them financially that they're not aware of. Most of the women that I find and work with in this community, and this was me, and I'm curious, even like show of hands, and if it's not you, that's totally fine too. But I would say the majority of the women we serve are completely in masculine energy and have no idea. Masculine is doing. So we're going to do a further breakdown today. But here's how you know if you're there. And I've actually got symptoms of misalignment in both. Are you burnt out? Are you depleted? Are you overwhelmed? Are you uninspired? Are you busy with no time? Are you trying to force or push results? I just want to pause before we get into feminine. Who can relate to that? Like, It's yeah. And again, not everyone that this was me. I was so far in my masculine and I was working so hard all the time and kept bumping up against an earnings threshold. Now we do, there are women who skew way over and I call it the injured feminine. So there's so much beautiful about the feminine. We're going to talk about what that is today, but injured feminine is, I'm just going to sit around and wait for something to happen. I'm not going to take any action. Or an energy of entitlement, like I should just get everything I want without having to put in the work. Now, by work, I don't mean grind, hustle, depletion, the masculine, like we were talking about, the injured masculine. I mean, being willing to make the personal transformation to show up as the version of you who has your vision achieved and to put in the work that's aligned there. So, I mean, I tell women, I'll say this too, in case anyone is identifying with this last one of entitlement, like these are not the women that I love serving in our programs. And I'll just be so honest, like I want everyone to have their growth and their journey. But if you're in entitlement and committed to that and committed to the injured feminine, we're like, I'm not the coach for you and I love you and you'll be on your own journey. If you are there and you want to elevate and shift and go to a different level, I'm here for it. Like, let's do it. But so those are symptoms of misalignment in both. What I have found is we have been taught to make money and achieve business goals completely in our masculine energy. And that was my own experience. So I was doing all the things. I was working incredibly hard, getting up and like getting like 2 hours of sleep a night, pushing, forcing, trying to control outcomes. And while I did okay, I was struggling with so many things on the inside, which I've told you about already. And I could never break past the low 6-figure mark, no matter how hard I worked. So when I learned what I'm going to teach you and what we've been teaching this whole week, but it's, you know, specifically today, when it comes to integrating the feminine in a powerful way, that was what created the financial quantum leap. That was where I was able to quantum leap in 10x my sales and my income in 6 weeks. So one of the things that will hold us back as women from making more is, who here feels like it's already so hard to make the money you're earning, where you're like, if I possibly had to work harder, like, I don't even know how it would be a thing. Some, right? So if you feel like if you feel and believe that the only way you're going to make and hit bigger sales targets is by just doing more of the same you're doing and working harder, you won't do it. You're going to limit yourself and hold back because you're like, there's no effing way. Like, there's no way I could do this. I'm already grinding, burning myself out. I'm in exhaustion. So what's really powerful and true and beautiful is your quantum leap. It's not about working harder. It's not about working harder. It's about alignment. It's about aligning the types of energy that you're working with. It's about what we've already talked about this week. It's about seeing yourself as someone who has the results that you want. So shifting your identity to be the woman who can, make great money and take 60 days off, Kelly, right? Or to be the woman who comes into a new role and makes $500,000 that year. So it's about seeing yourself and actually believing and embodying that you are that woman, feeling worthy of it. So healing your relationship with money and receiving it, and then learning how to leverage both of these types of energy, these dual forces, to work with you, and then take impactful action versus busy action. Impactful versus busy action. And this is something I teach and talk about when we do programs specific around our 50K club, which is for women going for $500,000 to $1 million or more, which is, it is easier to earn 7 figures than it is to earn 6 when you do this. Now, you can take these same principles and apply it to anything you want, but it's not about working harder. So let's talk about the most powerful blend, I think, for women for creation. So I would say, and I used to say it was like 70% feminine, 30% masculine. I am more of the belief now that when you are so aligned and so tapped into your vision, and your connection to it and your beingness is, this is already done, which is the feminine. It is more about 95% feminine, 95% being, 5% doing. It really is, when you learn how to get so lasered in and connected to the energy of what you want already being done. So I'll give some examples in my own life of how this looks. So I'm very disciplined and I'm very structured. And I love it. Like, I love it. I used to not share. And I even, like, up until today, I was like, I don't really want to tell people what my morning routine is in case you think you have to do this to be successful. You don't. It's about alignment. But I'm going to share just to give you some context. So some of this has to do with, I have 2 little ones at home right now. So, the time when I can get stuff done when they're not both up. I mean, they've got care during the day, but it's early. It's really early. So I personally, like, I'm up at 3 in the morning, between 3 and 3:30. I'm up then in the morning. I do my spiritual time. That's my time to connect. That's my time to tap into the vision. That's my time to meditate, to journal. And I love it. It's not like, it feels good to me. 4:30 to 5, I'm working out. And then 5 to 6 or 6:15, my team who's here knows you sometimes get messages from me at that time, but you don't need to read them or respond. I'm doing, like, my most important work for the day. I call that my CEO time. So, and then from there, it's kind of on to the day. I believe that discipline creates freedom. I truly believe that. And I love taking action and doing and seeing my vision come to life, which, again, we're going to talk way more tomorrow about how do you know what actions to take to actually get you to the goal. That's the method. That's the 4th of the 4 quadrants. But here's what I will say is that the action that I'm taking, and I get 6 hours of sleep every night. So I'm not, like, depriving myself of sleep. So I just want you all to know, like, some of you are wired that way. Some of you aren't. You need to build out your process and method based on what works for you. I have girlfriends who are very successful CEOs of multi 7-figure companies who are getting up and, like, starting work at 10. So it's just 10 or 11, like, it's different. So there's no right or wrong. Again, this is all about alignment. But here's the thing. The action that I am taking, and when I am in action, I am connected. I am connected to the vision. I am connected to feeling like it's already done. I am in an energy of fun and excitement around it. And from that place, it's less efforting. It's easier. Again, when you're in this place and you're connected and you're tuned into the vision and you've done the inner work, you're not wasting time in doubt, and you're actually not, like, overly concerned about when or how the outcome is going to happen. You're in the process. You're in the enjoyment of the process and what you're creating, which is feminine. So when I'm taking these actions, and then when I'm working in my business throughout the day, and I don't work more than, right now we're in a big lift and we're building and scaling a lot of things. So I'd say realistically, I'm probably working like 6 hours a day right now, but it's not even a normal 8-hour work day. I've got lots of time with my kids in the afternoon. So it's not a grind. But during that time, I'm consciously thinking about and following my intuition. And it's like, what actions would get me there to go fastest? So that's actually the law of least action, which is part of the quantum leap formula. So again, if you think that to get to your next level goal, you just have to do more of what you're already doing and grind harder, that's not how you quantum leap. It's going to be a very different type of action and a different energy to the action. So this is something that I am calling connected action versus disconnected action. And I'm curious, as I go through this, I'll do like a quick check-in at the end, but if you all can relate and have had the experience. So let's talk about what this is. So connected action, the type that I'm talking about. Now, I'm not perfect with this. I'm not always here. I have times where I got to get reconnected. We're going to talk about what that is. Connected action, you are more energy than matter. Okay. You are energy on matter. So we don't have a lot of time to get into the quantum physics of all of this today, but this is where can you remember a time, or maybe you already show up this way, where like things just feel easy and it flows and you don't feel like you're having to like push or grind or again, hustle. That's energy. You are energy on matter, high vibration. Right? You're high vibrational. It's like that feeling of this is already done. It's inspired. Your choices are coming from a place of must. There's a knowingness in you. I must do this. Not out of not out of should, but it's out of must. It feels fun and light. Like this, like what we're doing right now, this feels so fun. This is work. Like I'm putting in some work, but it's fun. I love it. Your actions are effective. It's about being in the game. You're there, you're in it, you're connected, you're intentional, and you're focused. That's connected action. Disconnected action. You're matter trying to change matter. It feels like a push. It's low vibration. You're taking the action, but you're in a place of fear, doubt, scarcity, energy, lack. That's what I'm talking about. You're uninspired. You're taking action out of should. Taking action out of should. I don't think she's on this call today, but we had yesterday, one of my private clients was on the call, and I was working with her on, I don't know, we had a call, I think on Monday, and this thing came through. It's like, just it made me laugh, but it's like, nothing good ever comes out of a should. So, so if you're taking action out of should, you can just know that it's a waste of your time. Okay. It feels heavy. It's ineffective. You're in the gap. So you feel separate and distant from your goals. You're playing in the gap. That's not going to get you there. You're busy. One of my mentors would say, busy is boring. I don't say I'm busy. Say I'm productive, or I got a full plate, but it's good. And you're overwhelmed. That's also a word I tell the women in the community. We don't use that word. We can say I'm in demand. I'm in demand today. It's a very different energy, right? So this is connected versus disconnected action. Here's a couple things. If you find that you are in disconnected action a lot, I think November in our programs is all about productivity and time for women. So it's going to be really beautiful. But one of the things that we talk about in the community is like, if something's feeling heavy, set it down, go outside, go for a walk. You're not going to find a solution to the problem from the energy of the problem. It's just not how it works. So we think, oh, let me just push through and figure that, like Valerie, if you don't mind, to the example you shared earlier of like, oh, I'm going to research this for 3 hours and figure it out. There was a much more effective solution, right? That probably felt a lot lighter in taking it. Yeah. That's how you're going to get it done. That's how you're going to make shifts and growth. So I do think, and I'll stop the share for a minute here. I think about this too. It's like, how much action is required to achieve the results? So one of the things that I do believe is like, if you're really connected and you're really tapped in, and when I say connected, I'm talking about to your goal. And then I'm also talking about whatever your spiritual connection is. So whatever language you use, to me, that's a huge part of this, is feeling connected to spirit, source, God, universe, whatever your language is as you're creating. I believe, and I have experienced, when you are coming from that level of connection, there is not always action required. And I'll give a fun example. And Mary, I hope that you don't mind. Like, this is actually inspired by you, and you're on this call. So Mary's a private client, and we were on a call on Friday, and Mary, you mentioned something about an event that you're hosting in Newport, and I had this fleeting thought of like, oh, it's been a couple of years since I've been to Newport. I'd love to go. And that was it. I didn't think about it anymore. I think Monday of this week, I get a DM from a woman who's hosting a conference for a bunch of title reps out in Newport. And she's like, hey, I have no idea how this woman found me, but that's how it works sometimes. She's like, hey, we're hosting a conference. We're looking for a keynote speaker who does what you do. Like, can you send me your speaker kit and fees and all of that? And I just laughed, like, of course I did. But I laughed because that's the type of energy where, like, when you're connected and you just have this, man, I love this, and you're not attached to the outcome or it has to happen. Things happen like that, and that's fun. And we don't rely on that. We don't rely on that. So action opens you up to receive, right? Action opens you up to receive. We live in the physical plane. So there's some type of action that's usually required. So just looping back in with this story, like, while this opportunity came in, which was really fun, I'm not going to rely on random DMs in my inbox. I am simultaneously, like, happily and intentionally pitching myself for other speaking opportunities next year. But that's an example that I just thought was kind of fun. So let's talk about masculine and feminine energy and integrating both in business and sales. So here's what this can look like. And again, masculine is about structure. Masculine is about linear, logical. It's about support. It's about the end destination. Actually, you know what? I think I have something else where I'm going to teach this like deeply. Maybe not. Okay, let's take a moment on it. Masculine is those things. Feminine is intuition. It's illogical in the fact that you can actually quantum leap your results really powerfully when you're connected to this higher source of energy. It's about the journey. It's relational, it's process, not so much the destination. So just for a little bit more understanding before we go into this and what this actually looks like in business. So here's how I think about it. Because again, we need both. The masculine is going to be like a script, for example, or a business process, having a standard operating procedure for how you do things. But the feminine means I'm going to use that script, or I'm going to use that webinar template or outline as a guardrail, not a handcuff. A guardrail, not a handcuff. I had this experience years ago and it was embarrassing. And I was like, man, I'll never do that again. Where I was selling for a big sales coaching organization, and I'd keynoted at a financial services conference of like 300 advisors. And for any of you who in here is a keynote speaker, I know some of you are, you've spoken before. When you're on stage and you're speaking, like afterwards, it's usually pretty easy to sell whatever you're selling because you've got the authority from having been on the stage. So I was usually pretty decent at enrolling people into our programs from this, but we had rolled out a new script as a company, and I had someone reach out to me about coaching him. And the messaging from our organization was like, follow the script, follow the script, follow the script, don't reinvent the wheel. And to me, the close of it felt so awkward and so clunky and so drawn out, but I was like, I'm going to follow this script. So I go through this is like a warm lead, great guy. I go through the whole thing. And at the end, when I ask him what he wants to do, he's like, you know what I would love? He's like, could you just talk to me like I'm a human instead of reading from the script? And it was like, it broke my heart. It was so painful. And I didn't get the sale, but I learned a lot. And so in sales and in business, I really believe using these tools, again, a script, a template, a webinar outline as a guardrail, not as a handcuff. When I sell the most, I'm like so tapped in, like I'm not paying attention. I'm really not paying attention. I usually have an outline or something that I'm working through, but it is a guardrail. It helps me if I go way off in the deep end, I'm not stuck to that. So that's an example. By the way, left side is masculine, right side is feminine. So calendar, using your calendar for structure. That's important. I use my calendar every day. I live by my calendar. But I used to, and this is with all due respect to Grant Cardone, I used to subscribe to the belief that he said something along the lines of like, white space on your calendar is the devil. Who here has heard that or even feels guilt or shame about taking any sort of time off or not being always on? That was me. You will never go back to what we talked about before about connected action versus disconnected action. Your body cannot sustain that, right? The average attention span is like max before we have to get up and go 90 minutes. So your body can't sustain it. I build in white spaces. You know, my team is here. They know, like I've got a block where it's like, I'm momming or I'm going for a walk. And it's like, we don't schedule over that. So that's so important. And I've been able to grow and scale and serve more people by being very intentional about what goes on the calendar. And then also making sure that there is plenty of white space. And you've no doubt experienced this. When do you get your best ideas for your business? It's when you're driving and not thinking about it, right? It's when you're taking a shower or going for a walk or going for a run. Like there is the doing time and we need that, but we simultaneously need time off to connect. So that's what I'm talking about here. having a CRM. I mean, I don't know. Some of my entrepreneurs may be like, what the heck is a CRM? I don't know that way of managing your clients, right? So whether it's a tool, whether it's a spreadsheet, I don't care what it is. We have one, we use one. It's important. And the way that I work every day is I've got a daily list of like, this is who I'm set to reach out to today. So I go through, and in the mornings I do my sales follow-up, but I still leverage my intuition. So if I feel intuitively guided to reach out to someone or take an action or do something that's like not the normal process, I follow that because I know the power of intuition. And when you're tapped in, what would otherwise take you like 200 cold emails takes one phone call. That's it. So it's the both and. It's so masculine is like managing your time. I don't believe we can manage our time. I believe we can manage ourselves. Something beautiful about this, though, on the feminine side, and this is something we're going to be diving into deep with our 10K and 50K members in November, like I mentioned, is learning how, as a woman, to align your activities with your energy cycle. This is a game changer. This is something like almost none of us are taught. It transformed my life. Your male counterparts, whether it's a partner, whether it's a business colleague, their hormones cycle every 24 hours, which means that they're going to have roughly the same amount of energy every day to show up and put in the work. In our business world, what are we expected to do? Show up every day and put in the work the same or better that you did yesterday. As women, whether you are currently cycling or not, your hormones, that same hormonal cycle that takes your male colleagues a day, 24 hours, takes you roughly 30 days. So it's a game changer when you learn that there's actually a type of business and sales activity that is best aligned with each energy cycle, all the way from planning to creating. So like if you plan that, plan your next launch, plan your next sales strategy, plan next year for the business, to creating. So creating a new program, creating social media assets, to presenting. There is a week in the month when you're most magnetic and it's much easier to convert sales, all the way to like detail and detail, strong action type of work. There's a week out of the month when you're most aligned to that. So as women, when we can learn to align our business activities to our energy cycles, we are so much more productive and it feels easier. And you stop making yourself wrong for having a day where you're like, I don't want to do this sales pitch. And it's actually probably because you're trying to do it in the wrong part of your cycle. All right. So that's very, very powerful. Masculine is about goals and the destination. I love goals. I love the destination. But the reason I love them is because of who I have to become in the process of achieving them. So this is also such a beautiful shift we can make when we realize that the purpose of a goal, I think this is a Bob Proctor, I don't know, but the purpose of a goal is to grow. So that my 3-year-old is in Montessori preschool right now. And one of the things I love that I didn't know they taught until he started going to this school was in Montessori, it's not about the end result. Like, how often do we get hung up and place our worthiness and our validation on the amount of sales we have in a month, or whether somebody says yes to us or not, or how, whatever, like the end result, the goal. You can't control that. What they teach in Montessori is it's all about the process. What was it like for you to create that? So my son now is bringing home art every day. And he'll be like, do you think it's beautiful? Do you love it? I'm like, yeah, but what do you think? And how was it for you to make this? Did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? Because there's so much conditioning in our world that it's just all about how can I skip straight to the goal? Well, the way that it works, because you are a spiritual being and you are going to constantly want to expand and grow, and that's a good thing, but you're going to get to a goal and then you're going to want to do the next thing. And that's great, but you're never there. Like, if it's always about, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be worthy then, I'll be abundant when, I'll be validated when, you're not going to hit it. You're never actually going to have the experience you're looking to have. And the feminine is about the experience. So something that I focus on every day is releasing control of the outcome. Like, I have a goal I always have a goal and intention of what I'm creating, but all I'm focused on is who do I need to be? And what's the process like? And then we talked yesterday about like the actual thing we're looking for when we're looking for more money or bringing on a new team member, or a certain goal. It's the emotion that we're looking to create is what we're actually looking for. So I practice every day. How can I embody that emotion? How can I embody freedom today? How can I embody worthiness? How can I embody self-love? Right? So I practice that, and I am that. And then when we come at the goal from that way, the goals really naturally take care of themselves. But it's a very, very different experience. The masculine is linear. It's, again, show up every day, call 100 people, and eventually you'll make a sale. Again, nothing wrong with structure. We want some structure. It's important, but the feminine is what will quantum leap you. It is what will quantum leap you. And it's illogical in a good way, in that way. Let me actually stop the share for a minute. So I hope this is resonating. I see some others jumping on. So welcome if you're joining a little bit later. So good to see you. Actually, I can turn this back on, but let's talk about some powerful integration of masculine, which is about order. Okay, so I love this quote. I thought this was a Thomas Troward quote. As I was looking it up this morning, I read Alexander Pope. I don't know who that is, but this quote, order is heaven's first law. This is so powerful. I am finding the more that I elevate and the more capacity I need to have to serve and show up in a bigger way, I crave and I require order in like every area. So this is powerfully integrating more masculine in your business and in your sales. So again, tomorrow we're going to talk about having this like daily method of operations or a daily SOP. And we're actually going to talk about how to build it based off of your goal, not your current results, which is the game changer. But this is part of order, having order in your life. Order actually starts with your thoughts. So it starts in your mind. What are you thinking about all the time? I used to have no idea that I was in anxiety, and I was constantly in, like, it's called high beta brainwaves, that it felt normal. But if you constantly feel anxious, fearful, doubtful, your thoughts are like controlling you, you're in high beta, which is fight or flight. You're not going to create powerfully from that. So I can feel it now when I shift into that. And the only thing I care about is getting out of it. When your thoughts are orderly and they are peaceful, and you've done this work of the foundation of the big three that we're building here this week, there is a natural order to the actions that you will take where you'll get a beautiful result from it and you'll get to your goal. So it all starts in your thoughts and in your mind and in your energy. And then from there, it's really important to have order in all areas. And this is something too that I actually haven't talked with. I've worked with my private clients on this, but we haven't talked about it as much with some of our group clients. So I want to bring this in November when we're doing our work. But order in your home. Like, holy crap, is this important? We just moved. I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. If you are living in chaos and disorganization and you don't have good systems at home, you're actually detracting from your ability to earn. So we just moved into a new place. We literally closed on this house a little over a month ago. It's not fully done because we are doing this simultaneously with 2 little kids, but it's very darn close. And that was my number one thing when we moved in this house. I was like, I don't care what we need to do. We are getting this house organized as quickly as possible. But there's also not just organization, like having systems at home to support you, just the same way you do in your business. So this is something we're going to be diving into more and more, as you know, with our group clients this year, is like helping you set up what are the right systems you need at home so that you can have mental freedom to focus on your sales and your business, right? Because I don't know about you, like, if your kitchen's really messy or if your bedroom's really messy and you work from home and you go into that space and you're like, you've got a big goal or something you're trying to achieve right now, it's distracting, right? It's distracting. One of my mentors would say, clutter costs you cash, but, and I'll say, and, as a woman, if you are simultaneously raising children and being a partner and doing all of the things, it's like, how the heck do we make that work? There are ways. I've built out in my own life, there are ways, and a lot of them don't require any extra money. So again, the higher that I find I'm elevating, and you've no doubt found this too, or if you haven't, you will, if you choose to elevate, the more I require order, structure, organization. And it's not from a place of being a perfectionist. I think this is really important. I'm not a perfectionist. It's from a place of loving what I'm creating and making it really beautiful. So with all of this, I'll stop the share for a second here. With all of this, it's so much about the integration of the two. And so I'll even share, like right now in our company and in my life and in our team, like this week, I am so connected to spirit. My heart is so attuned to serving you every single day. I'm in my heart is open. I'm connected to the vision of what I'm hoping to bring to you this week, as well as what we're creating as a company and what I'm creating with my life. And then from that place of connection and vision, which is the feminine, simultaneously, the team and I are taking powerful actions to achieve our goals, right? So we're showing up every day, serving you behind the scenes. We're like, man, we're going to serve like thousands this way. Like we know it, we already are. So we're building out, and this, again, peek behind the scenes of what goes on after these calls. My team and I are building out a process and an SOP as we do this. And we're like, okay, what can we do better there? How can we make this easier? What do we want to do next time to feel more prepared there, do what? So we're simultaneously building and integrating the masculine structure as we show up and serve from the heart and help, and help as much as we can. So that's how it looks and feels. So let's talk about, let's do these 3 keys before we talk about the homework. And if we have time for some coaching today, we'll do that too. I'm not sure if we'll have time. Friday is going to be all about integration and coaching. So make sure that you're here Friday. That's also when we'll do the prize drawing announcement. And you want to be there live if you want to get that. So, okay. So let's talk about, all right, these 3 keys of aligning your masculine and your feminine. Number 1, we're going to lead with the feminine. The feminine is vision. The feminine is connection. The feminine is energy. Lead with our vision. And Ray, I love that you mentioned before desires, like your desires are green lights. We're going to lead with that. All right. So I'll share a quick story of what can happen when we do that. Some of you know this beautiful woman. This woman's name is Rita. She's an entrepreneur. She has been in our community for several years now, and she's in Norway. And one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met in my life. So one of our programs, you've heard me mention it a little bit this week, is called the 10K Club. And it's our group coaching program. Most of the women going into that program, they're like, I want to hit my first 6 figures. We also have women in there who are beyond that, but they love the structure, and you can take what we teach there and apply it to whatever your goal is. But again, a lot of the women come in there and their goal is, I want to start having 10K plus months. So she enrolled into the program a couple of years ago. And now when you look at Rita, you will probably see a woman who, she looks like she's got it all together, right? She's like beautiful, successful, she's goals. What you don't know or see up front in this picture is that when we first started working together, I found out about Rita's son, and I'm going to show you a picture of him. This is Benjamin. I just got emotional looking at him. Sorry. This is Rita's son, and his name's Benjamin. And he had a very rare genetic disorder called Hurler's syndrome, and the average life expectancy for this is 7. And so, aside from being an entrepreneur, Rita had dedicated pretty much all of her life since she had Benjamin to advancing medicine and treatment for kids with Hurler's syndrome. And I used to be able to give this talk and say her son is now the oldest living in the world at age 27. He passed away last year in March of 2022 he was the oldest living. And she and he became huge heroes of mine, just for perseverance, tenacity, strength, love. So anyway, when Rita enrolled in the 10K Club, her goal was very different from what most of the women were doing at that time. And she said she didn't want to, just make 10K in 90 days. She came in and said, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm supposed to make $120,000 in 90 days. So that's my goal. I was like, I love you. Let's do it. Let's go. So she led with the vision. We tapped into her vision for expansion and more, and what she was manifesting in her life and her business. And in 90 days, she did not hit that goal. And she didn't make $120,000. She made $240,000. And she's in this position, which I think for a lot of us is really fun to think about. Like, what am I going to do with all this money? Right. And it was great. And so shortly afterwards, she gets a message on LinkedIn from a man in India who's thousands of miles away. And he says, Rita, I've seen your posts about your work with Benjamin. He said, my son Kashal was just diagnosed with Hurler's syndrome, and I don't know what to do. He said, this seems like a death sentence. This is Kashal. And he was like, please help. I don't know what to do. I've seen your posts. Please help. Rita immediately jumps into action mode. She gets him in touch with all of Benjamin's doctors. The challenge with this treatment is that it's incredibly expensive. It's somewhere around like $1 million for the therapy. So most of the world isn't going to have that sitting around. This family certainly didn't, for the enzyme replacement therapy. And so they're panicking. What are we going to do? And here's what's beautiful though, is that, Rita didn't personally have $1 million sitting around to help, but she did have a lot. And she was able to leverage her resources to help start funding Kashal's treatment. And she launched a fundraiser for him, which we donated to, and the community donated to. And everyone came together to create this opportunity for Kashal to get treatment. And to this day, baby Kashal is well alive. I see pictures of him. It's really, really beautiful. So this is the power of leading with vision. It is, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's not just about you. When you say yes to making more and earning more and receiving more, there is a double blessing. You don't often know or see exactly how it's going to manifest, but it will. So that's number one. Number two, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is the masculine, right? So identify what are the areas where you're currently craving and needing better structure and systems. I used to be like, I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants and figure this thing out as I go, which there's actually a lot of power to that, just to be able to be present and create in the moment. And at a certain point to scale and grow, and not only do that, but feel present in what you're doing. We need the support. So the empowered masculine is all about service to the feminine. So the masculine is designed to support and serve the feminine. So you're going to lead with your vision and then pull in the masculine structure and support and systems that you need to get you to your goal and to be able to feel present enough to connect and be tapped in. So this is the third key, is integration. We're going to let the masculine support the feminine. And so while you are doing your work, you're connected to the vision. You're connected to the energy of it's already done. You've got the feeling in your body of this is already done. That's the feminine. And then simultaneously, as you go, you're building those structures and systems in place to help support your growth. So with that, we're going to have a few minutes for coaching. This is beautiful. Here's what I would invite you to do for your homework. So day 3, I want you to tune in. Where am I? Where am I on the spectrum of masculine versus feminine? And no judgment on where you are, whether you're like, man, I'm in, I heard it called the swampy feminine once, whether you're like, man, I'm all the way out there, or I'm like so in my masculine, I am so disconnected, I can't even stand it. Like either way, where are you? Then you're going to choose what's one thing that I can do, that I can implement from what I learned today to move into better alignment. Let it be progressive. We don't have to perfectionism is not going to make you money. All right. So we're not going to be perfect with it, but we're going to say, what's one thing that I can do to move forward? Bonus. And we'll do this for today as well as through the rest of the week. you share your top thing you learned so far this week and tag me at Elise Archer. We are very candidly, we are committed to serving as many people as we can in our program. So this is something I appreciate. Share and tag me. I'm at Elise Archer. That also helps me see what you're learning. You'll have double points for the giveaway on Friday, the coaching session. So we have 5 minutes. And then those of you who are 50K Club, we've got a great call at the top of the hour with an amazing guest mentor. So I'm going to literally have to scoot at the top of the hour, but I want to pause. Who has a question? Oh, I do. Maybe I have one more thing. Okay. We're going to have 3 minutes for coaching. And then we had some questions come in yesterday. So I want to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. Does anyone have something, either a coaching question or just like an aha that showed up for you with this? And if you don't, that's okay too. Amy, yeah.
Hey, so I signed up at least number one, just because I needed your inspiration. So for those that, are new or have history, just know that the start of a relationship is just beautiful. And Elise will continue to bless you through all areas of your life. But my aha moment was really yesterday when, you do things, and then you stop doing them. And you're always like, why did I stop doing this? Right. I used to take my lunch hour, and that was my reception time, my receiving time, my 15 minutes of I'm receiving. This is what I'm open for. This is how this is how the rest of my day is going to be. This is what's going to show up in my inbox by 8 a.m. tomorrow or whatever. And I stopped doing it, but I started doing it again yesterday, so just that receiving part is so important to me. And it's, I listened to a meditation this morning. Again, my morning routine varies, but then I sometimes go away. So I just wanted to say thank you for just continuing to be that inspiration and kind of like re-energizing or re-inspiring when I needed it. So I appreciate it.
I love you. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's something too, like just knowing there's never really an end to the journey. I have times where I forget stuff and we got to come back. But the other thing too, that I found is every time you elevate, there's a whole nother level that you're going to need to achieve in both of these, both addressing, Kelly, to your point earlier about like limiting beliefs, but like you'll realize, man, I've got limiting beliefs showing up now as I go for a new level that I had no idea we're hanging in there. So you're going to need to do the work, both from a belief, a mindset standpoint, the feminine, as well as what's the next level of structure and support and organization and systems that I'm going to need in order to achieve this goal powerfully and have the experience I want of it too. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Let me take a quick moment. I'm not sure if my team dropped it. Let me just look. Okay, awesome. So for my team, who's either Kayla or Laura too, I think one thing I just want to go ahead and share with all of you too. I felt intuitively yesterday, like there were women who were like, I'm ready to go deeper and I want to go deeper. So we put a link in the replay email from yesterday to our programs for those of you. We were getting questions too. So it's like, for those of you who are interested in how to go deeper, we will share a little bit more tomorrow, and we're doing some cool bonuses this week too. So we'll share a little bit more about that tomorrow, but we had women reach out and asking questions. And so if you do want to learn more about going deeper with us, we'll have a link to the 10K Club as well as the 50K Club in the chat. Thank you so much. And then also let's see, we got the Calendly link. Perfect. So there's Kayla, if you can also pop the actual program pages in the chat too, elisearcher.com/50K and then elisearcher.com/10K. You'll see the option in there to book a call, which Kayla just popped in there too, which is beautiful. So thank you. Laura is saying women need to know that they get to be supported and don't need to do it alone. 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's so much different and better when you go with the team. So anyway, just for those of you who are like, hey, I'm ready. I know I'm ready to elevate. Those are some opportunities. We have 1 minute for a takeaway, a coaching question. And did we have fun today? Did we have some like epiphanies and some good awarenesses? I share in the Facebook group tonight. I want to hear what's showing up for you. And tomorrow is going to be so beautiful because it's going to teach you how to take a very different type of action that's going to get you massive results. But again, from that energy of fun and ease and allowing it to flow, which is the feminine. So we're going to be building out your action plan tomorrow. And it's like one of my favorite things to do. So you all are incredible. Same time, same place tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day.